the Kimber CDS9 Classic. Let's check it out. Kimber's known for its 1911s, and when they introduced the CDS9, it gave you a very compact, micro, single-action 1911 style handgun, and yet it has a double-stack magazine, up to 13 rounds in this configuration. And so it's a very small, concealable handgun, and yet you have that 1911 feel to it, but you have a higher round capacity. But now they're offering their CDS9 Classic. It's just standard slide serrations. There's a number of things that actually allow this to be more of a budget option. So this gives you that CDS9 feel, and yet it gives you more bang for your buck. So we're going to check out the CDS9 Classic, and we're going to compare it to the standard CDS9. These are great little micro 1911s that are excellent for concealed carry. And we want to give a big thank you to Kimber for sending the CDS9 Classic for this review. All right, guys, the Kimber CDS9 Classic. This is covert double stack 9mm. Very similar to your 1911 in design. It is a single action handgun, but it's a double stack magazine. But it has those controls of your standard 1911. Of course, no grip safety. Now let's go ahead and drop our 13 round magazine. And it does come with a 15 round magazine as well. And you can get a 10 round flush fit magazine, which could be great for concealed carry, but you're gonna have a little hard time keeping that pinky on. But with a 13 rounder, it really doesn't make it that much longer, and man, it just fits your hand. And let's go ahead and check the chamber to make sure it's empty. And here we have the 15 round magazine, and you can see it's just a touch longer. In fact, very little. It just has a lip that comes down. So this is gonna help with your concealability with the handgun, and yet it's gonna give you 15 plus 1. So we're going with 16 rounds in a very small handgun. And yes, it does hang out, but man, it fits very well. And again, you can see that the taper that goes down at the angle, it just allows this to be a little more concealable. But you know, if we have the 10 rounder, we can get that in there and make it very concealable. But honestly, with the 13 round magazine, it is very well balanced. And that's one of the things about shooting this handgun. It is very balanced. I mean, it has that 1911 feel. It has a good solid grip to it, and yet it's short, and it's short at the bottom, and so it makes it an excellent concealed carry. Now we have our mag release right here, and it's checkered, and it's very well done, and you can switch that to the other side, which in standard 1911s you can't. And also we have an external extractor. These are just more positive than the internal extractors that are in your standard 1911. And here at the mag well, there is a bevel, but with the magazine you have a bevel as well, so the two fit really well together to get those magazines in and out very quickly. Now, one of the things about a micro pistol or a really small concealed carry pistol is that they're typically very thin. That makes it easier to conceal. But when you're shooting the handgun, you don't have as much control as you do with one that is more similar to your grip width of a standard pistol. And so this really has a full grip. I mean, you feel like you've got a solid hold on the handgun. Especially with 9mm or 45, you want to have a little more control. You're going to be able to manage your recoil a little better, and it's just going to shoot better. So that's one of the philosophies behind the CDS9. It is still a very small handgun. But really, instead of those single stacks with a really thin gun, you've got a double stack, and that gives you a lot of rounds. Now this is a single action, just like your 1911, and so you can't manipulate the trigger unless the slide has been racked. And we're not going to test it yet, but I just want to get a feel for this trigger. Oh man, that trigger's nice. It is a flat face trigger, and it has a vertical break, and we'll look at that in a minute. We do have a commander style hammer, a nice beaver tail that's into the frame, and so it allows for that recoil to balance around the web of your hand. The 7075 T6 aluminum frame, it's just extremely well done. And one of the things about metal frames is that it gives some rigidity. It actually helps the frame to slide fit even tighter. And we'll look at the slide rails when we break it down. But the frame itself, I've really gotten into the metal frame handguns. They're not that much more weighty, and yet they have this rigidity to them that just seems to lock in. They're just smoother shooting. And it's why a lot of guns have gone to that. Now, it does have a little more weight, and one of the other issues with your aluminum frame is that it has to be machined, whereas your polymer frames can be just produced in mass. And so that is one reason why you're seeing your polymer frame pistols coming in at a much cheaper price. But there are some trade-offs. And really, if you want something beautiful, this frame and slide combination is just gorgeous. And there's a lot more work that's gone into the CDS9, the original. And we're gonna go ahead and make sure the gun's unloaded. We have a 13 round here, and the chamber's empty. Now, this is the two-tone, and they do have a threaded barrel model that has a stainless slide, colored slide, and then it has a lot of the other same features. Now, first thing is, this is optics ready, which your original CDS9 was optics ready as well. What I love about this is you don't need adapter plates. You can take your RMSC footprint or your 407K from Holosun, and it'll fit directly to the slide. Now, that does take away your rear sight, but we have a very short slide. And for the sights, we have a fiber optic at the front, and this is one of the TAG fiber optic sights, and we have blacked out rear serrated sights. And so this is going to give us a really nice sight picture and sights decently high enough to where you can rack this on your belt. You can do one-handed reload manipulations. I really like to have this shelf on the back of my handgun. Now, it does have a black top, and then we have the raw stainless except for through the serrations. Now you'll notice these are just straight line serrations, and of course the black is recessed in there, and it gives it a really cool look. And then of course the black frame. With the original CDS9, we have the Raptor serrations, and so you can see, I mean, these are beautiful. They are extremely effective, and I mean, they just rack really easily. You can grab them wherever, but it costs more to put those Raptor serrations on there. And so that is one of the ways they cut down on the cost. But these serrations are very good. I mean, they grip to your hand very easily. They're just not quite as fancy. They still function just as well, but they're not quite as aggressive as the Raptor serrations. But they're still very good serrations and more than adequate. Now, one thing you'll notice here at the front, we do not have an accessory rail. Here on the original, we have a 2-slot Picatinny rail. And so this is going to be good for lights and lasers. But again, with the Classic, they've gone with cutting some cost just to save some money in production and labor cost. And two, one of the things about a small handgun like this is a lot of times guys don't put lights on the front of these type handguns because they are so small. And so this is just that slick. But if you want the rail, you're going to have to go with the original CDS9. Also, we have polymer grips, and these are grip inserts, so these can be changed out if you want. Here we have G10, and these are Frag G10 grips, and these are VZ grips. They're very well done. They're absolutely beautiful. And then we have Frag pattern on the front strap and here on the back strap. So we have a lot of texturing. I will say that the Frag pattern is not super aggressive, but once you grip it and you put some pressure on it, it really holds up well. With the Classic model, we have the texturing here on the back of the frame on the back strap, but we have a smooth front. But you will notice that there is a deep undercut, and that is right under the trigger guard. And this is going to allow you to get that hand up as high as you possibly can and get it under that beaver tail. Now, while we were shooting this, it shoots like a dream, which the original CDS9, I love the metal frame. Now, we are ambidextrous on the slide stop, and we're ambidextrous on the frame safeties. And they are very easy to bring up. There's a little detent, holds it down, and it does make a nice little gas pedal when you're shooting. But it's fairly minimal. And that's one of the things about it. This has the controls are very close to the slide, and so while you're carrying it, it's going to keep it from printing as much. Also, we have a loaded chamber indicator right here in the top of the barrel. It is a stainless steel barrel. It's 3.18 inches in length. The slide, of course, is stainless, but they are forged, stainless forged barrel. And we have this kind of a cut that kind of bevels out here toward the end. And this is just a nice black touch. And again, that's going to keep the glare down. If you have just a stainless handgun, and if you ever shot them in the bright sunlight, they can be a little shiny. Typically, they'll put a matte finish on the top. But here, we just have the black. And really, it looks very nice. I mean, Kimber puts their Kim Pro 2 finish is just very well done. And there's something about it. It just has this satin look to it. And it really matches with the frame very well. But the sights on the original are the same as well. So you have those tag sights, and it's just really going to show up extremely well. And of course, these are able to be switched out if you want to put a different set of sights on here. The front has been bullnosed, and it's kind of cut back to make it a little bit easier to slide into holsters. And the barrel has a slight crown around the edge, and that's just going to preserve your accuracy. Now, we're going to look at this when we break it down, but it does have a stacked recoil spring system, which just really aids in recoil. And this is a very soft shooting handgun for a very small size. One of the big innovations of the CDS9 are these slide rails. You can see that they're angle cut, and the engineers at Kimber did this. Gives it more surface area on the slide rails to the slide, which just makes it smoother, and honestly, it makes it a little bit stronger. So this is a very unique system that Kimber has come up with for the CDS9. All right, we're going to check the trigger pull action. Again, it is a flat face trigger, which really helps with the geometry. And so we come to a wall, and then we have a really nice brake. Single action firearms typically have really good brakes. Reset comes out just a touch, but a nice crisp trigger pull. And this is one place that they didn't cut corners. Now let's check out the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 4 pounds, 6.9 ounces. 4 pounds, 7 ounces. That is very consistent. Now, weight on the CDS9 Classic, 20.68 ounces. Weight on the original CDS9, 21.8 ounces. There's about an ounce difference. But when you put them both in your hand, you can feel that ounce difference. It's kind of funny. And maybe because the weight of the accessory rail gives it just a little bit of extra. But as far as just holding these side by side, you can feel a little bit of the difference with the new Classic model. All right, guys, big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammunition, all made in the USA. One of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. Also, we love our little loaders. Keeps these mag loads fast. Okay guys, we have the Kimber CDS9, and this is their Classic. This is in essence a mini 1911 or a micro 1911, which Kimber does a good job. I mean, the beaver tail really helps. Get your hand up there, it distributes the weight. Slide serrations are very aggressive, front and rear. The sights have a fiber optic at the front. So man, when I put this up, I mean, you spot it immediately, blacked out rear sights. It has the shorter grip, but it comes with an extension on the base pad. And actually, this is the one magazine that I brought down to the range, so we've been having to load them. But it's got that two-tone effect to the slide with that brushed stainless, and then the inlays are black. Really nice looking handgun. And has the flat face trigger. But these are really excellent. I've been carrying the original CDS9 because it's just such a carryable firearm. and it's single action, but man, consistent with every trigger pull. Nice rack of the slide. Even though this is a smaller gun, it shoots like a full-size gun. You just see that dot, that sight stays on it. Nice texturing all along the grip. The front strap's not, but you really have a good hold on it. Overall, I mean, this has been a great gun with the original CDS, and then with the Classic, it just really kind of makes it more of a budget-friendly carry option. And then you can go with the metal, which honestly, I'm a big fan of the metal. But really, with this frame, it's got such rigidity to it, has that lighter weight. And you have 13+1 in a very small package. So I'm really happy to see Kimber stepping it up with a double stack, but yet micro type 1911. All right, let's disassemble the CDS9 Classic. Remove our magazine, check to make sure the gun's unloaded. Now, your slide stop on this side, you do have a small little pin, and this is actually connected with this slide stop. So we're going to bring back our slide, and we're going to take that first notch, and we're just going to line it up. And you've got to find exactly where that comes out. Now I'm going to take a punch, and I'm just going to push from the other side, just like that. And there it comes. Once we do that, we're going to let this just go forward. And now we have our recoil spring and guide rod. We're going to move it forward and pull it out. And you can see that this is a compressed, stacked recoil spring system. And this is really going to be a big aid in recoil. Plus, these are the flat coils, which the flat coils tend to give you better recoil management as well. And then we have the barrel, and we're going to pull it out from the back, just like that. So here we have our 3.18-inch barrel. It is a little dirty from shooting. We put quite a few rounds through this, but just the raw stainless. Here the slide. It's a 1911 style. You do have your firing pin block right here, so it is drop safe. And just like Kimber, it's very well done. And then we have our frame, which is really very similar to your 1911. I like the extended slide rails on the front and a little bit more extension in the back. A lot of times with polymer striker fire pistols, you have really short slide rails. So this just gives you a little bit slide to frame fit. But one thing I want to show here while I've got it open is this system, how the slide rails in the slide actually go to an angle. And this just gives you more surface area touching the slide rails, and then they match the slide rails here in the back. And so this just gives you a little more frame to slide fit, and it just is very efficient. And that's something that I've not seen on any other handgun. And when we're reassembling, you'll notice this small spring, and this has to go up over your slide stop, or it won't hold the slide open on the last round. So if you reassemble your firearm and it's not holding, it's because this little spring is not in place. But guys, compared to the 1911, this is a very simple handgun to disassemble. Now for reassembly, we're going to drop in our barrel, and we're going to put back in our recoil spring and guide rod system. Just like that. Now we're going to come back over our slide rails, and we're going to line up that first notch, and then as we put in our slide stop, we're going to kind of pay attention. What you want to do is to get low with the slide stop and then come up. Now to check that, go ahead and enter your magazine and pull back, and we're holding back. So it's not difficult to get that in there. You just want to make sure that your slide stop is down when you're putting it in. It was the same thing with the Solo. And so this is back in business. We're going to function test. Man, that thing is smooth. I love that trigger. Now, keeping your firearms maintained and cleaned is vital. Otis makes some of the best cleaning equipment out there. They make a number of different kits. They also have Shooter's Choice, which makes excellent CLP and bore solvent and different cleaning materials. The Ripcord is one of their signatures, and there's a whole system based around it. They are suppliers to the U.S. military. So check out Otis Technologies, highly recommended, and we want to thank Otis for being a sponsor of the channel. All right, guys, when it comes to price, and that's one of the big things we've all been waiting for, is the retail price on the new CDS9 Classic runs $865, while the original CDS9 retails for $1,075. So there's a considerable difference, and all that has to do with the machining and just a few of the upgrades. And of course, market price is going to be less. And the magazines are running $34.95, the 15 and the 13 rounder. And so what are pros and cons? Well, one of the biggest pros is that this is a model that's just going to be more budget friendly. Compared to the original, there's going to be some cuts with the accessory rail, the Raptor slide serrations. That definitely is going to up the game a little bit, but these slide serrations are very effective. Also, the VZ G10 frag grips, they're a nice touch, but the polymer grips do very well. And to be honest, if you really like these grips, you can put them on your CDS9 Classic. Magazine options are great. I mean, you do have your 13 and 15 round magazine that come with the gun, but you can get the 10 rounder additionally, especially for those states that aren't so free. But these magazines, it just gives you a lot of capacity. But if you really want something that's flush fit, then you can go with a 10 rounder. But for concealed carry, this is a nice option, and honestly, it doesn't hang off that far. Now, another big plus for this design is that it does feel more like a full-size gun. It has a nice grip to it. You feel like you have it in your hand. You can get more control over it. You can control the recoil. But with this recoiling system, the stacked recoil assembly, it allows for very soft shooting. And so combine that, and it just gives you a very nice shooting handgun. The forged stainless is very nice, and I like the two-tone effect. With the Kim Pro 2 finish, it keeps the glare down. I really like the tag fiber optic sights to match with the black outline serrated, and it is optics ready, where you can attach your micro red dot, your Shield RMSC, or your Holosun 407K. The trigger pull is exceptional, and you have that flat face trigger. I love the undercut. The texturing is very well done. Overall, a great option for concealed carry. What are some cons? Well, if you're looking for an accessory rail, you're going to have to go with the original model. And one other slight con is that when you take off the optics cover plate, is you're going to lose your rear sight. But again, this is a very small handgun, and that's just the way it goes. Now, a lot of the micro red dots actually have miniature sights on the back to be able to co-witness with your front sight. So that's a big plus as well. External extractor is definitely a plus, and this really nice beaver tail, the undercut into the trigger, and really nice for gloved hands. So a lot of pros, very few cons, and this makes an excellent concealed carry. I have been carrying the CDS9 original ever since it came out. It's part of my concealed carry rotation. And there's just something about having this, which is a fairly small firearm, but yet it feels your hand and it gives you a solid grip to it. And one of the things too about a lot of the larger handgun styles that have the little short compact versions, they are blocky. This is very graceful, and there's something about it, whether you get the standard CDS9 or the Classic, that just gives you that shootability to it. And guys, if you ever have to draw your firearm, you want to have as much confidence as you can have. So guys, while the CDS9 has become very popular, again, a double stack micro 1911 style that just fits in your everyday carry. But now that they're offering the CDS9 Classic, it gives you a more affordable option. And guys, there's just something about that single action 1911 trigger, the controls, just the balance. It just really allows for a great concealed carry option. And again, a big thank you to Kimber for sending the CDS9 Classic for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.
camera's on still? Yeah, of course.
Did we check the chamber? It's a very shootable handgun. All right, let's check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells.
Say a millihair back, half a millihair forward.
A little thicker than some. It's, I don't want to get into it, this is thick, because it's not thick.
All right, guys, we've got the KDS9. No, it's good. Okay.